Thank you for Thank you everybody for showing up to at this third webinar. That is the fourth webinar organized by the World Association for Buiatrics. As you know, we are trying to share the experience of the different associations that are affiliated to the WAB, to our World Association. We have already assisted to the presentation of Costa Rica, Tunisia, and so on. Today we have two of the, say, all associations are important, but I would say the oldest association joined that were affiliated to the WAB, that are Germany, and Germany is affiliated since from the beginning because it was one of the founders, the first. The idea of the World Association for Buiatrics was conceived in Hanover, and then the first Congress was in Vienna, as perhaps many of you know. And also we have Japan, that is member of our association since to my knowledge 1988. We start with Japan and
okay. Yes, perfect.
Just a short introduction of Ingrid Lorenz, that I have known for many years, since she was a student at the university in Munich. Then she got the professorship in Dublin. She was assistant in Munich, and since some years she is responsible for, as you see, the animal health service in Bavaria. So Inge is very expert in calves, and therefore now she is vice president of the German Buiatric Association. Inge, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Arcangelo, and very good morning from Bavaria, from my side. And thanks a lot for giving me the time for this presentation. I will first tell you all a little bit about the structure of the German cattle industry, how important it is, and then in the end about the German Buiatrics Association, where I'm the vice president. And as Arcangelo already said, in real life, I'm heading the cattle health service for the Bavarian Animal Health Service. So how important is the cattle industry in Germany? You can see, depending on the right, you can see, depending on what time frame you are asking about, Germany is always in the top 10 of the milk producing countries, sometimes fourth or fifth. That depends a little bit on who you ask. And on the left side, you can see that in the European Union, or let's say in Europe, since there's the United Kingdom and Switzerland at the bottom there as well, you can see that we have, behind France, the biggest cattle population in Germany. So what are we doing with those cattle? They obviously not only produce milk. We are also, behind France, the second largest producer of beef. As you can see on the right, what we don't do is veal. The Germans do not like to eat veal, and they also do not like to produce veal, which is obviously an issue since we have an awful lot of dairy cows, which produce male offspring, and then we have to ship this male offspring elsewhere. But we get back to that problem later. We produce a lot of beef, but we do not have an awful lot of suckler cows. So the beef production is in Germany working a little bit differently than in most countries, where you have suckler calves basically going into the beef production food chain. There are some of those suckler calves in Germany as well. They are mainly on extensive pastures, kept on extensive pastures, often just to, yeah, like keeping the grass down for nature purposes. But most of the beef we produce actually from male offspring of dairy cows of the dual purpose breeds. And that is mainly happening in the south of Germany. And most of them are Simmental cows or Simmental male calves that then go into the beef production. And as you can see in the pictures on the right and the bottom, it's not quite as romantic as having the calves and the suckler calves out on pasture. But it is actually a very intense beef production system. When it comes to milk, we have actually the highest milk production in Europe and also the highest apparent milk yield, as you can see from this slide. But the number of farms and the number of dairy cows goes down steadily. In the last years, there was still a lot of small dairy farms in some areas of Germany, and they are just, we are just losing them. We are losing them for several reasons. For starters, for small farms, it is not profitable anymore to keep dairy cows, with the exception maybe, especially in the pre-Alps and in the Alps, where you can have cows and then you can have tourists on the side. So that's a system that works quite well. But in general, the farms go down. As you can see, the milk production is not going down that much because the average yield is steadily rising in the past years. Not everywhere, but in Germany in general, it is still rising. So where in Germany is the milk produced? The main milk producers are actually really Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia. And you can see that these are also, yeah, no, that's a different slide. You can see here the breeds. And that's what I said in the beginning. We have in the south, so in Bavaria and in Baden-Württemberg, we have mainly Fleckvieh, so Simmental as a dairy breed. And that's where the male calves are actually quite valuable because they just grow very fast. So they can be used very well as beef, as bulls. We are fattening bulls in Germany, so not steers, but intact bulls in general, with some exceptions, especially for the Oktoberfest. And in the other federal states, you can see there is mainly Holstein or Red Holstein. That's the main breed there. And you can also see in Germany, there are huge differences in the structure of the farms. So mainly in the former East, there are still those historically developed structures from the former GDR, where you have really, really big farms with an awful lot of cattle. And in the south, especially in Bavaria, there are still really, really small farms. So in Bavaria, we are right now at an average dairy cow number per farm of 42. And yeah, you can probably guess that those small farms, if they do not have a second leg to stand on, like tourists, for example, they have a hard time. And on the other side, the political background in Germany is not quite favorable for food production from animals. So also the rules and the regulations, they go tougher and tougher for the farmers. So actually right now there is quite a bit of frustration in the farming community in general, which was a little bit enlightened in the last year due to the really good milk prices. But since they start going down again, the frustration is coming back. Also, the structural problem that we still have in southern Germany and especially in Bavaria, we still do have an awful lot of dairy cows in tie stalls. And especially the all year round tie stalls, they are very, very frowned upon from an animal welfare point of view. So that dairy corporations actually started to pay less money for the milk if they come from tie stalls. And there is on the horizon a ban of all year round tie stalls. It is not clear yet how the stance of our current government is on temporary tie stalls. So especially in the Alps and in the pre-Alps, where the cattle historically go on alpine pasture in the summer, they have small farms, and obviously also they still have a lot of tie stalls. And it is not clear yet if Germany goes down the route, like for example, Austria, that they have this combination of pasture in summer and tie stalls in winter, which is still allowed. That's not quite sure yet what's going to happen. So how is the development of the milking cows in Germany? You see here some selected federal states. I did not put all of the federal states in there because otherwise it would be a lot of lines and you cannot see the individual lines anymore. What you can see, the orange line is Bavaria. So obviously, since it's a different breed, we have the lowest milk yield. It still went up since 2000 to 2019 quite a bit, but it kind of stayed at the same level for the past years now. And then you can see the upper lines. Those are all the former Eastern federal states. And then the dark blue line, that's North Rhine-Westphalia. So they have caught up quite a bit to the Eastern federal states. But still, those are still having the highest yielding cows. And yeah, that's like probably elsewhere in the world as well. Usually the cows in the east are kept all year round inside. In the northwest, there are a lot of pasture in summer. And below in the pictures, you can see cubicle houses from the south. So obviously also in Bavaria and in Baden-Württemberg, not all of the cows are out on pasture. Most of the cows are actually, that's a picture missing. No, it was here. Yeah, about 30% of the cattle only have access to pasture in Germany. So what you can see here is that the cattle numbers go back, especially in the south of Germany. That's what I already told you. When it comes to the major cattle diseases, Germany is, yeah, basically free from most of them. We had a little bit trouble with blue tongue disease a while ago, but all the, yeah, traditional cattle diseases, with the exception of BVD, we are already free. And BVD, we are free in many parts of the country, and the rest is in eradication. So we did a good job there with all the historically important cattle diseases, and now we are waiting what all the climate change and the insects are bringing us as the next problems. So now, finally, to the German Buiatrics Association. The Buiatrics have a really strong history in Germany. As Arcangelo already mentioned, the first Buiatrics Congress was actually held in Hanover, even before the World Buiatrics Association was founded. Then the now German Buiatrics Association has always been under the shelter of the German Veterinary Society. The German Veterinary Society is a big society which basically is science-oriented and whose main purpose is to organize congresses, so get the science out to the veterinarians. That's basically what the German Veterinary Society does. And in 1965, the specialty group was founded. First, it was called cattle diseases. And then in 2007, it was actually renamed to German Buiatrics Association. And mainly, together with the German Veterinary Society, the German Buiatrics Association is organizing scientific meetings, either annually or biannually. And usually we actually cooperate with other specialty groups, like, for instance, reproduction or nutrition or animal breeding. Our representative to the World Association of Buiatrics is Peter Heimberg, who is now the Secretary General. In the president of the German Buiatrics Association is right now Jürgen Rehhage, and I'm the vice president. On this picture, you see a meeting that we had with the representatives of the German Veterinary Association or Society, which help us to organize congresses. So on the left side, that's Mrs. Altinger, and with the green shirt, that's Benjamin Rink. So they are mainly in charge of organizing congresses. And also on this picture, you see Walter Grünberg, and he's on the picture because he is the current president of the European College of Bovine Health Management. And we are very excited that we are actually, for the first time in the history of the ECBHM, we are holding an international congress in Germany where the ECBHM is invited and is co-organizing and is also holding their AGM there. This was something that was very close to my heart. Some of you might know that the ECBHM was actually founded in Germany, or is a German, legally a German organization. And the first president was Wolfgang Klee, who unfortunately left us way too soon. And it was also always my plan to finally get the ECBHM to Germany. And for that purpose, we are going to organize in August 24th to 26th the European Buiatrics Congress and ECBHM Jubilee Symposium in Berlin. I think I don't need to tell you that Berlin is always worth traveling to. And so you are all very, very invited to join us in Berlin in August for this conference. We have a lot of keynote speakers that you probably know those faces, most of those faces already. So it's going to be a very good program. I wanted to show you the website. Unfortunately, the website is actually down since yesterday for technical problems. But as soon as it's up again, have a look, because most of those keynote speakers have also put up some teaser videos where they talk about what you can expect from them. And also the whole program is already up there. And the website of the Congress is down, but registration is actually possible. So the registration website is working. And hopefully, obviously, the Congress website will be working again soon. And then you should really have a look there. So with that, I thank you for your attention, and Arcangelo for the invitation to speak here, and also to give me the opportunity to invite you to Berlin in August. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you. And especially, I thank you for having reminded Wolfgang Klee that was not only the first president of the college, but it was really an enlightened person, and all people that have had the luck to meet him or to know him know this perfectly. Therefore, thank you also for this, Ingrid. And it seems to be that that Germany is a little bit represent two different realities, two different countries. Southern Germany, Bavaria, and the northern part of Germany. I would leave the discussion at the end of the session. If Takeshi is ready, we can continue with Takeshi and then leave the discussion at the end. If you agree with me, Peter, I am allowed to decide this, to keep the discussion at the end?
Yes.
Okay, Peter has now a connection problem. Takeshi, are you ready?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, all persons should switch mute the microphone. Please. If you want to share your screen, you do by yourself, or Peter will assist you?
Yeah. I think Takeshi will do another try, and if it does not work,
you are ready.
Here we are. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try to move forward.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We hear you.
Okay. And the slide?
Try
Yeah,
to
we see the slide.
Okay. And then it's okay?
Yeah, and it's moving. Yeah, fantastic.
It's moving? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. Right. So, okay. I'll start my presentation. So first, let's check Japan's location in the world. Here's Japan, obviously. there are, you know, what this yellow area indicates.
Alas?
So
Oh,
this
the
is
subtropic.
so there are subtropical areas. So particularly, you can see here the southern part of Japan, including Miyazaki Prefecture, where I live, is classified as a subtropical. This trend may be increasing due to global warming. But so the southern part of Japan has a climate that can be described as subtropical, but everything from little north of Tokyo to this slide or Japan is a snowy area. Here, especially in the northeastern part of Honshu, Hokkaido, and the mountainous areas in Honshu, there is a lot of snow. Well, on the other hand, the most south part of Japan, Okinawa Island, is truly a subtropical region. Along with Kyushu, it is a major beef industry area. So this, okay, let me see if, yeah, this red area is Miyazaki Prefecture, and this prefecture also, and the neighboring prefecture, Kagoshima, traditionally popular in beef industry and very active in the raising of beef cattle, and they are also rivals each other, Kagoshima and Miyazaki, always competing with each other for first and second place in the national beef cattle competitions. Nevertheless, as you can see here in the down right, Kumamoto Prefecture in Kyushu, for example, is one of the major dairy industry areas and boasts the nation's large, third largest milk production among Japan's 47 prefectures. So the Hokkaido, located in the northernmost part of Japan, is a major dairy production in Japan. The total annual milk production in Japan is approximately 7.6 million tons in 2021, with Hokkaido leading in the country with a 56.2% share of the national total. Nevertheless, the number of Japanese black cattle being, as you can see here, Japanese black cattle, beef cattle being raised is also increasing in Hokkaido year by year, and is the third largest in Japan after Kagoshima and Miyazaki. So the size of the land in Hokkaido is suitable in raising cattle, but you have to fight with a lot of snow in winter. This slide shows a comparison of snowfall in several large cities around the world. Snowfall was calculated as the height of the snowfall during the year, assuming that it accumulated without melting. As you can see here, how much snow falls in Sapporo is largest among the cities shown in this slide. So the coldest town in Japan is near Obihiro, Rikubetsucho, has the average minimum temperature of almost minus 20 degrees Celsius. Very cold. So there is a variety of climate in one country, Japan. It's a not so big country, but there are diverse aspects in beef industry. Now let me give you an overview of the beef industry in Japan. So this graph shows changes in the number of beef cattle. The number of cattle has remained almost unchanged. The red graph shows the number of beef cattle. Almost all are Japanese black. This striped bar graph shows the number of dairy cattle, almost all Holstein, kept for fattening for meat. So the sum of these two graphs indicates the total number of beef cattle, which is 1.33 million animals. So now let me talk about Wagyu or Japanese black. After the establishment of this breed in 1944, most of the breeding programs were carried out within the same prefecture, and very little migration of sires to other prefectures occurred. So the number of sires started to decline after 1991, about 30 years ago, the year when beef imports became liberalized in Japan. Since then, domestic production of high quality beef has received increased emphasis, and semen units collected from a very small number of prominent sires has been intensively used in this country. So of the 4 domestic beef breeds in Japan, Japanese black or JB is the most common. The breed is characterized by prominent intramuscular fat deposition or marbling, and has recently gained greater interest and reputation from around the world for the unique texture, tenderness, and the premium quality of Wagyu beef. So Japanese black cattle are reared in a very intensive system where the animals are housed and fed with high quality fodder and concentrate. The production costs associated with this system are high, and the value of a Japanese black calf is at least 4 times that of a Holstein Friesian calf. And training technique, AI with JP semen followed by JVET in dairy cows has become popular. Also, urban pickup and in vitro production method has been widely adopted in the field, particularly for Japanese black, whose value per head and per embryo is very high. The market price of 8 to 9 months old calf has risen sharply because the demand for calves has kept exceeding the supply in the recent years. The price of a 9 months old male and female cows is over 5,000 and 4,000 US dollars respectively. The breeding of cattle is implemented almost 99% by AI and 1% by ET. So let's look at dairy cows. So this graph shows changes in the number of dairy cattle by age. The total of these is the number of dairy cattle, which is 1.33 million as of 2019. However, the number of cows has been slightly increasing since then, and it will be 1.37 million in 2022. In addition, the number of farms has been decreasing, which clearly indicates the size of one farm per farm is increasing. This graph shows number of dairy breed female calf births and female percentage of calves born. Female cattle accounted for 38%, male cattle for 27%, and crossbreds for 35%. The number of male births has been on a consistent downward trend, mainly due to the increased use of sex-sorted semen. Okay, the number of sheep, small ruminant. As to sheep, the number of sheep farms has remained the same in recent years. The main breed kept in Japan is the Suffolk, which is a meat breed. But number is not so big, only 20,000 head and 250 farms. Approximately half of all farms are raised in Hokkaido, and domestic production of sheep meat has remained almost the same, and about 150 tons produced annually in 2020. And the imports have remained at around 20,000 tons, mainly from Australia and New Zealand. As to goats, most of the goats that can be seen in Japan today are either native breeds or the Japanese Zanen breed. Native breeds are raised mainly in Kyushu and Okinawa, particularly in Okinawa regions, and are mostly used for meat, and are believed to have originated from small goats from Southeast Asia about several hundred years ago. Japanese Zanen breed is raised mainly in Honshu Island, where females are used for milk and males are used for meat production, except for sires. So the number of goats and goat farms have been on the increase in recent years. In 2020, there are approximately 31,000 goats and 5,300 goat keeping farms. Domestic carcass production of goats has remained almost the same in recent years. About 70 tons of goat meat was produced annually. And import has been on an upward trend until 2008 due to increased demand for goat meat and halal food from foreigners, for Muslims particularly. In 2020, imports totaled approximately 440 tons per year. The import destination is 100% come from Australia. Okay, let's see now. This is some old data, but it shows the percentage of cattle treated by disease category. As in other countries, many countries in the world, mastitis in dairy cattle and respiratory in cows, and respiratory diseases such as pneumonia and digestive diseases such as diarrhea in calves account for the majority of cases. And reproductive diseases, as represented by reproductive disorders, ovarian diseases or uterine disease, account for a quarter of the total, regardless of whether the cattle are beef or dairy. Okay, let's talk about veterinary education. There are a total of 17 veterinary colleges or schools in Japan, 10 of which are national, 1 is prefectural in Osaka, and 6 are private. And each year, about 1,000 graduates have been produced so far. And one of these private universities is currently 5 years old from its establishment and will graduate at its first class next year, which means that there will be 100 more graduates than this year. Then only after passing the National Veterinary Qualification Exam, one can work as a veterinary practitioner. The passing rate for this exam is about 90%. So it is expected that about 1,000 new graduates or new veterinarians will be born next year. So this table shows the number of veterinarians by the workplace where they work. In total, about 35,000 people are engaged in veterinary field in Japan, of which about 4,000 are engaged in farm animal practice, as shown here. There are also bovine clinical veterinarians among universities and companies who are not included here. But since some clinicians in farm animal practice specialize in swine, it is not possible to determine the exact number of bovine clinicians or practitioners. In particular, some local government officers do cattle practice as their duty works. So this is also a bit old data, since these figures are from 17 years ago. We need to shift this axis from 17 years, but now the ratio of male to female veterinarians is 50-50. The percentage of female students is increasing, but we are not at the point where 70 or 80 of the students are female, as in many countries in Europe or the United States. So regarding the age structure of farm animal veterinarians, the percentage of women is low. Nevertheless, the percentage of female clinical veterinarians has increased to nearly a quarter of the total as of 2022. So now let me introduce Japan Veterinary Medical Association. It was established in 1927. It is very old, almost 100 years from its establishment. And the purpose of the association is to contribute to the improvement of animal health and to promote the animal welfare and protection and to preserve the natural environment. Also, the improvement of veterinary medicine, promotion of dissemination of the veterinary science, and development of veterinary personnel. So the member is 55 organizations. So this is 47 prefectures and 8 major large cities. So activities as shown here: development of veterinary medicine, improvement of veterinary medical services, promotion of veterinary science and research, and promotion of human resource development for veterinarians and other veterinary professionals, and promotion of animal welfare and proper management, and also to promote and enlighten the matters listed in each of the preceding items, and collect and provide information on these matters, and other matters necessary to achieve and objectives of the society. So this is the structure of the Veterinary Medical Association. So it is a bit complicated, but the General Assembly is a major the top part to determine the final decision. And among these societies, farm animal, the Japanese Society of Farm Animal Medicine is here. So we are the association has 3 different societies: farm animal, small animal, and public health. So now move on to Japanese Society of Farm Animal Veterinary Medicine. So the history. So its establishment is 1963, 1 year before I was born. But it was founded as a legal academic society in 1987. And then following year, our society became a member of the WAB. So the purpose of the society is to conduct academic research on farm animal veterinary medicine, including bovine medicine, of course, and to promote and disseminate the results of such research, thereby contributing to the society. So here is a list of first and present president. Let me introduce 2 professors here. First, Dr. Katsumi Hamana was particularly enthusiastic in bringing many Japanese bovine practitioners to the WBC each time, every 2 years. I personally met him at the Congress held in Salvador, Brazil in 1990, and I was greatly encouraged by his words. Dr. Hamana was also active as the executive committee member of the WAB and was recognized as an honorary board member after his retirement. He always stressed the need for international exchange to his colleagues and to the younger generations, including myself. It was very sad that he passed away in March this year at the age of 82. Although he seems to be in good health condition when I met him at the Federation of Asian Veterinary Association held in Fukuoka last November. We would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere condolences and pray for the repose of his soul. Another person or Professor Nakao has long been a regular participant in the WBC and was also my supervisor when I was a PhD student. Thanks to Professor Nakao's arrangement, I was able to get to know the WBC, and on one occasion, I was given the opportunity to train at the Hanover Veterinary College before presenting my research at a conference in Gießen, Germany, and was invited to the home of Professor Eberhard Grunert. Then, furthermore, it is still fresh in our memories that Professor Nakao invited a number of overseas researchers as special lecturers at the annual conference organized by the Japan Veterinary Medical Association, and also made a great effort to realize the 30th WBC Sapporo Congress, which was held in 2018. Okay, and this is the current executive committee structure. The current president is Professor Shigeru Sato, Professor Emeritus of Iwate University. And there are two vice presidents. One is Dr. Masumi Sato, a veterinarian from Nisseiken, a veterinary vaccine manufacturer, and Dr. Hisashi Inokuma of the University of Tokyo. Then each of the 8 regions has a regional society president and one representative from each university and research institute. Okay, we have regular members of more than 2,000 people, veterinarians, and individual supporting members, 4, and total is a bit more than 2,500. So as I told you, Japan is divided into 47 prefectures, but as a large region, it can be divided into 8 blocks like this, the different colors. The red area, so this is Kyushu, Okinawa, and I'm here in one of the prefectures in Okinawa, in Kyushu. So each of these regions holds a regional conference, annual conference, and abstracts that are recognized as excellent in each region are invited to attend and present at the national conference that year. So our society's activities includes to hold meetings and lectures for the presentation and the discussion of academic research, and to publish some papers, research papers, and other matters necessary to carry out the objective of the society. So also we have symposium of the Japanese Society of Farm Animal Veterinary Medicine. This is, for example, in 2022 at the 4th annual meeting of the Japan Veterinary Medical Association, which was held in Fukuoka. So selected abstracts from each region will be were presented at the national conference, from which further outstanding abstracts received awards. This is a scene from last year. So this award, there are 3 different awards. Academic Encouragement Awards for particularly young research workers, and Japan Veterinary Academic Achievement Awards, which was awarded to individuals who have made significant contribution to veterinary science, particularly to the senior veterinarians. And also Veterinary Academic Society Prize was selected from those who received the Regional Society President's Prize at the regional societies held in the same fiscal year. So we also, the Japan Veterinary Medical Association publishes this journal, Journal of the Japan Veterinary Medical Association. It is distributed both in print and in online. And also original articles are published with the text, full text in Japanese, but titles, authors, and summaries are written in English. So one can be reviewed online at this address, written in here. But at the moment, it is difficult to browse because it's abstract online or they are written in Japanese. I will ask the editorial staff to improve, to include English titles and summaries online as soon as possible. You can download the for PDF, and in there you can see the abstract in English, but it's very difficult to browse at the moment. So sorry, just in a few months, we will ask the editorial office to improve this service. Okay. Okay. Now some photos from the Sapporo Congress in 2018. So this is some pictures or sign in front and inside the venue. Okay, so this is the greetings from Dr. Emile Bouchon, the past WAB past president. So this is a greeting from Dr. Isao Kurauchi, the president of the Japan Veterinary Medical Association. And also, as you may recall, he was a Sapporo Congress chair and was acting a member of executive committee of WAB, Motoshi Tajima. So this was 5 years ago. Okay, at each annual meeting of Japan Society of Farm-Animal Veterinary Medicine, a symposium is held to provide members with information on cattle diagnosis, treatment, and prevention, as well as related topics. Recent topics include latest findings in feeding management and pneumonia medicine in beef cattle. Clinicians explain secrets, cattle surgery techniques to practice in the field, or cattle replacement milk feeding update. So we had in Miyazaki in 2010, international symposium in declining fertility in dairy cows in the world, its causes and possible solutions, with invitation of international recognized research workers from different parts of the world. So also this is a more recent 2015 in Okayama, with the aid, financial aid of grant in aid for dissemination of scientific research results. So this is the title was Global Approach to Control of Diseases and Improvement of Productivity of Dairy Cattle through the recent advance in nutritional, metabolic, immunological, and genetic studies. Okay, so current situation and issues in Japan, in bovine industry in Japan, include a lack of successors, young generations, and heat stress, animal health, and improvement self-sufficiently in domestic feed. We rely on a lot of imported food stuff. So in Japan's domestic beef supply, increasing the number of breeding cattle is also an issue to solve the calf shortage. Breeding cattle are produced in sparsely populated areas with less employment opportunities compared to large cities such as Osaka or Tokyo. And increasing the production of breeding cattle is a meaningful way to promote local industry, halt the outflow of population, particularly young population, and contribute significantly to local development. So regarding animal health, 23 years ago, in the year 2000, Japan experienced its first outbreak of foot and mouth disease, FMD, after 92 years, when an outbreak occurred in a few farms in Miyazaki and Hokkaido prefectures. Thanks to proper initial quarantine measures, enabled to limit the outbreak then to a very limited area. But 10 years later, in 2010, Miyazaki prefecture experienced a huge pandemic outbreak of FMD. 210,000 heads of cattle and pigs, and nearly 300,000 heads, including vaccinated animals, were euthanized. Since then, the livestock quarantine system has been stronger ever. And another issue, bovine leukemia and BVD are also infectious diseases that have yet to be eradicated due to the lack of a systematic eradication campaign at the national level, although their importance is very recognized by veterinarians and veterinary professionals. But eradication is possible if we are serious. That is, if we spend a sufficient budget on effective vaccination and through culling positive animals such as PI animals. But the lack of sufficient budget and manpower is one of the reasons for this. However, there's a growing momentum to persuade the government to take action by persistent lobbying activities of the Livestock Health Administration from the frontline level or from bottom line. When we learn that, as a previous presentation, the goal of eradication is steadily in sight in Germany and the United Kingdom and France, as I know, it is a relief to know that it is possible to eradicate if we are serious. And there are more than a few Japanese veterinarians who are determined to accomplish the same thing, which is eradication. So the future of bovine practitioner should have communication, collaboration, management, and leadership skills, and continually learning and adapting to changing environment, relearning or degree obtainment, and they should be able to collect, process, and disseminate correct information. And so they should have international mindset. So, but they stress value the diversity and multiculturalism in a global society, and should understand one health issue and both animal health and clinical practice. Okay, that's it. Let's work together for the future. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Takeshi. So thank you both for the very interesting and challenging introduction to the context where your association to work. I don't know whether there are already some questions. I would have a question that perhaps first is for Inge and then it can be also transferred to Takeshi. Inge, you mentioned it and you emphasize the fact that the Germany has two different situations that can be also two different approaches to animal diseases. So are there big differences in the work of the Buiatricians between the Buiatricians that work in Bavaria, in the southern part of Germany, and differently to the veterinarians that work in the northern part of Germany? I mean, perhaps there are two quite different work, quite different routine works, everyday work.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's a little bit different. In Bavaria or in the south, we still have very few veterinarian practitioners that go for the herd health management approach. There are still a lot of practices that are basically firefighters, so still doing firefighting bovine medicine. In the north, this is still the case as well, but there are more big practices with many colleagues that are then more specialized. So some of them do herd health management and others do the everyday stuff. So I think there is, without me having any statistics, so that's just a feeling, but I think the structure of the farms with the small farms in Bavaria and the larger farms in the northwest makes a difference also to veterinary practice. And then obviously we have the really big farms in the former East, where, for instance, I mean, some of them basically have their own veterinarian. So, yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I suppose also for the farmers should be the same. Perhaps in Bavaria are more family, so are family farmers, and in the northern part perhaps are more, let's say, professionals.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously that's true. So in Bavaria, we have the issue that there are family farms that are basically on the borderline of that they can deal with the number of cows. So that's an issue. On the other hand, in the north or in the east especially, we have the issue that we have professional managers, but then they have problems to get qualified personnel. It's not so easy anymore to get people to actually work in the business. So each of the systems has their problems.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, Takeshi mentioned it, the fact that the younger generation, the younger Buiatrician, it might be a problem in the future. Then I see also a question from Peleke, but I will just ask Takeshi. Takeshi, you mentioned this very famous Japanese black cattle breed and with Baju. Are there some differences in terms of diseases for Buiatricians that work with this breed? I remember that in the past there were many genetic diseases in Japanese black cattle. I don't know whether there are some other differences related to the daily work of Buiatricians that work with these breeds.
You mean compared to the daily bovine practitioners?
Yeah. I mean, are there specific diseases? Because the rearing system is a little bit different in Baju cattle.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, as you mentioned, the genetic diseases is various, genetic diseases due to the single gene defect. So after the research works to identify which gene was to blame, then after the identification of that gene, then we can establish some strategy to decrease the number of the carrier animals that have such genes in both sides, sire and the dams, so that to avoid to breed the semen of the carrier animals to the carrier dam, so that the calf won't be animal that has a homology of such genes that become a pathogenic symptom. But another thing is particularly because Japanese black or Wagyu is very unique in terms of its the rearing method, which is very intensive, not extensive, not on the pasture. Usually, some of the farms, many of the they are kept inside of the barn. So and to make the quality of beef is particularly in particular texture and tenderness. But because of that, some nutritious problems like, for example, some metabolic diseases in fattening animals, or one of the famous diseases is vitamin A deficiency, because the producers knows to limit the level of vitamin A should result in a better quality of beef. But in terms of the animal health issues, and also, of course, in animal welfare issues, the control of vitamin A is very important, and maintain the minimum level of, I mean the minimum level of vitamin A, not to become a serious metabolic problem or deficiency vitamin A. So those are the main diseases which are peculiar to Japanese black, I think.
Yeah, thank you. There is another peculiarity, Takeshi, that is too expensive for us. Anyway, so
okay, yeah. So yeah, in terms of the cost of the one cow, I think it's more demand for surgery of one animal, one calf, yeah, compared to Holstein or dairy cows. The value of the one animal, except the sires, but the cows or the calves, it's very expensive, and it has a high value. So that the many producers request the bovine practitioners to operate, fracture of the bone fracture and so on.
Yeah, this is a consequence of the value or the high value of the animals. Yeah, I mean, it's expensive for us that would like to eat at the restaurant. Thank you. So I have on the chat, I have a question. Yes, from Pierre Lequet. Pierre Lequet, perhaps many of you know that he was the General Secretary of the World Association for Buiatrics from 1986 to 2002, if I remember well, and now he's a director of the EVE, that is the European Association of Establishment for Veterinary Education. So thank you, Pierre Lequet. You ask you ask a general question for me. So whether buffaloes are currently included in the concerns of the association, and if yes, if there is a specific working group. So Pierre writes, I recently visited the Garofalo farms and factories in Campania. These are buffalo farms. Garofalo is one of the best, I know. My favorite mozzarella, and was impressed by the increased number of dairy buffaloes and their high profitability. Pierre, you are right. So I would say, actually, buffaloes are not the main, let's say, business of the World Association for Buiatrics. You know perfectly because you were secretary. In our statutes, there is written that even though the emphasis is on Buiatrics, small ruminants and other non-domestic ruminants in general, but I would like to include also buffaloes here, are also considered as a species of interest for the association. Actually, we don't have a working group on buffalo. Yeah, I mean, as we don't have as a working group for small ruminants. I remember that in the past we had in some congresses also presentation that regarded camels, also camelids, and who knows, perhaps also New World camelids are somehow included in Buiatrics. Also, you know, at the university somehow and somewhere camelids are included in the clinic for ruminants. So I hope this. I don't know whether I can answer better, but if you have comments, Pierre, you know, you have a big experience because you were the secretary. Therefore, I don't remember how was this considered when you were the secretary.
But when we had a meeting, sorry, I cannot speak loud because I am in the lounge in an airport, but when we had the meeting in Brazil, you remember in Salvador de Bahia, we had a specific session devoted to buffaloes. But since that period, I don't remember that there were other specific sessions during the World Buiatric Congress, nor a specific working group. But it's just a question because these, I visited several farms close to Naples, and they are a bit concerned that there are no major interest for this species, which is not really a bovine species, but is very close to it, but has some peculiarities. So maybe it could be a topic for the future.
Yes, thank you. For example, in Italy, the Italian Buiatric Association, every year when we have the Congress, has a part of the Congress, one section that is dedicated to buffaloes. Therefore, you are right. Perhaps it depends also on the location where the Congress is organized. Yeah. In Brazil, perhaps there was original interest in the local veterinarians for buffalo. Perhaps if the Congress is organized somewhere else, it is more difficult. But I would say better we have to, and also David, that I see here, we can keep this for our discussion and for future discussion. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Also, are there other questions from the floor for Ingrid or for Takeshi? You see, I think that it is very important. These kind of seminars are very important because we can see the differences between the countries that are represented in our association. And as I mentioned it many times, usually when we organize congresses, and this is also something that is related to what Pierre emphasized now, when we organize congress, we always try to organize congresses with topics that are related to a certain, let's say, to what we consider the modern way of the work of Buiatrics. But there are many countries that are so different from each other, and where the situation, the realities is so different, that should be considered in our association. Because if it is a world association, it's association of the, let's say, it is not the right term, developed country. I'll say the most modern way of rearing cattle, but there are many other countries that have a completely different way of rearing animals. And also Germany is an example of this. There are two different situations: small scale farming in the south, large scale farming in the north, as emphasized by Ingrid. Also, this is reflected somehow in the type of the work. Then we have very, very valuable breeds in Japan, and whereas in Italy, male calves cost 40, 50 euros, and in Japan we have animals that are so valuable, 4,000, 5,000 euros. In Italy, also in some countries in Europe, we don't operate it on cows because it is not worth off. Eventually we slaughter them or we put down, and in Japan they try to operate all the situation because the animals are so valuable. And with this example, we can go all over the world for having different, really different situation. So I don't know whether there are comments or question. Otherwise, Peter, I would say, otherwise we can go to the
one small information from Japan about
please.
buffalo in Japan. Do
Yeah.
you believe we have buffalo?
Oh yeah.
Yes, very limited number buffalo in Okinawa, but this is not for consumption of milk or milk product or beef. It's only for the tourist.
Yeah.
But yeah, Japan is one of the Asian countries, and as you know, in many Asian countries have buffaloes, water buffaloes from buffaloes and buffalo associations. So if one of the member of WAB are interested in some or request some information on buffaloes, so with regard to the Asian buffaloes, I have several colleagues working in buffaloes in Nepal or in Philippines or other countries in Asia, so I can make a contact with each other, and that's what I can do at least. So just a small information.
Thank you, Takeshi. So this suggestion, buffalo small ruminants within our association should be perhaps a little bit more considered. And also, I remember in one congress we had also a colleague from the Emirates that gave a wonderful presentation on camels. So therefore, and also we don't know exactly where to put the New World camelids. I know that in Vienna, in Austria, New World camelids are treated in the clinic for ruminants. Therefore, these are discussions that can be included in our discussion.
Can I give a short comment?
Yes.
During my time as the president of the World Association for Buiatrics, Pierre Lequeux knows this exactly. We started to include small ruminants beside cattle, then New World camelids, and during some conferences, we had also presentations on water buffaloes, you see, but not too many. But we have been open for all of that, you see. So just that you know this, you see, and in the future it's the same. And in Austria, for example, the number of New World camelids is at the clinic for ruminants now at the university, 1/3 of the patients, you see. In former times, 20 years ago, we had 5 to 10 patients, alpacas or llamas, but now it's 1/3. So this is increasing, and therefore we have to take care of that, you see, during the next World Buiatrics Congresses also, that we invite speakers on this field, you see, because water buffaloes are probably also very important, not only in Italy, but also in some other countries.
Yeah, thank you, Walter. So just for the news, many of us knows Professor Baumgartner was the president of the World Buiatrics Association from 2000 to 2016, and therefore knows this problem very well. He was the director of Vienna, therefore knows also the fact that the New World camelids were addressed to the clinic for ruminants in Vienna. And therefore, yes, thank you, Walter. So keep this in mind, because also there are some diseases that are shared by these animals. For example, the foot and mouth disease. Foot and mouth disease can affect also buffaloes, and therefore there are many things that can be considered shared among these species. Therefore, thank you, Walter, for this comment, fruitful comment. I don't know if there are some other. I have here Engelbert from Tanzania. It has been a good occasion of learning by attending this webinar. Thanks, Engelbert. I hope to meet you soon, and we keep in touch. You know, Engelbert, perhaps that I am very interested in involving African countries so to increase the involvement of African countries in our association. Also because, as I already mentioned, the World Association should include should be represented by all the continents. And so also because we learn a lot from knowing what are the diseases that are emerging or are present in other countries. So Peter, if you allow me, I think we can start to close this interesting webinar. We don't have yet the date of the next webinar, but it should be in around 2 months. I invite all of you to the Congress, who is still in Bulgaria. In 2 weeks, at the end of the month, we have the Middle European Congress in Stara Zagora in Bulgaria. And as already mentioned, we will have the European Congress in Berlin at the end of August, as announced by Ingrid. Therefore, I would be happy to meet you there. And yeah, Peter, what shall I do now? You are my mentor, you are my supervisor.
Oh, no. I think, please, everybody stay healthy and see you on the next webinar.
Exactly. So thank you to everybody for your participation. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, Takeshi. Keep in touch. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Bye. Good
See you
night.
soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Ciao, ciao.